So, let's talk about the Final Fantasy XIV negativity issue. Why do I know anything about this? Really, I don't. If you're here looking for someone's opinion on why Dawntrail is worse than the last expansions, you're not going to get it here. I'm about 500 hours away from getting to Dawntrail. Until then, what I am is a new player. And our story begins here with a tweet from Envinion with almost 160,000 views. I think Final Fantasy XIV's community is pretty much just an Ouroboros of misery at this point. So few people can talk about the game in a normal way. Now, I responded to this. As someone new to Final Fantasy XIV, the amount of negativity is off-putting. Just yesterday, I was looking for Final Fantasy XIV content to watch on stream, and the first 5 videos were what went wrong, decline of style videos. To be fair, everyone I met in-game is not as blatantly doomer. Now, you might be saying, well, what's the problem with that? Why is that an issue? Let's take it for instance that you are a new player, mind you, someone like me, just interested in learning more about the game. If I look up FFXIV with no context on a incognito browser, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna search, probably get an ad or two, don't care about that. Final Fantasy XIV fans are not happy. The problem with Final Fantasy XIV, the stupid split ways ad, are Final Fantasy XIV players okay? Your thoughts on the state of Final Fantasy? Like, these are not tucked away. This is the first thing you see when you look up the game. So imagine you're just looking for information. You just want to see the cool stuff you might have ahead of you. And this is the cool stuff ahead of you. Realistically, is this even an issue? I am going to ask you to rate the fashion really fast. I think it looks pretty good. I've been working on it a lot on stream. Am I making an issue out of nothing? Maybe a little. Why does it matter what's happening in Dawntrail when I'm in Heavensward, you know? This is not anywhere near the problem area. Well, I think the big kind of thing to consider there is, why don't you check this one out? I've put 6 days, 9 hours, and 48 minutes into this game. So asking a new player who might not even be at the 100-hour, might not even be at the 10-hour mark, to play a game that when they look it up, they get worried about the future of the game, is not a good investment. It's not a good look. You know, going back onto X really fast, we have things like, after today, I hope the Final Fantasy community moves towards a more healthy and hopeful mindset for the future. I understand criticism, but man, I'm tired of all this negativity. Now, I responded, it's a bit off-putting as a newcomer. You never want to present a potential second life game as a sinking ship, right? You're not going to sign up for a game that might be on life support in 2 to 3 years. Now, the rebuttal from all these people, because again, they can't talk to me about the problems because I can't understand them. Final Fantasy XIV is excellent for new players, a lot of content to be played, but I say narrative is a very powerful tool, and you don't want people who are looking into a game to be swamped by, you know, that YouTube feed, 3-year decline of Final Fantasy XIV manifestos. It's a bad first impression, and yes, I will continue marching heavensward. Their hearts filled with the hopes and eyes fixed heavensward. I have to include this because I kind of cooked on this one. Honest advice to you, keep your head down and listen to absolutely no one until you've beaten at least 7.0 MSQ. And I said, I wholeheartedly agree. I just think it's unrealistic to believe someone won't look up Final Fantasy XIV on YouTube like I did and see all the bad discourse. Not to mention, it's a social game, and the people that I've met through the game, they usually have a rose-tinted love for the game I'm in and not the one that they're in. It's kind of a bar, so I had to include that one. That's a very personal thing for me because, you know, I stream this game. When I play this game, I typically play in Discords with people. I have a policy where I let anybody talk to me at any time, as long as I'm not reading a cutscene. There is definitely a lot more love for these older sections of the game, and anytime I talk about the more recent expansions, it's a lot more, I kind of got burnt out. It's a lot more, you know, I almost quit at XYZ, and to me, like I said, it's just a little bit jarring as a new player. Also, poor Murney's literally freezing to death. I think another thing that really kind of tempers me to this whole thing, my favorite MMO is a game called RuneScape. Now, if you know anything about RuneScape, you know that there's 2 versions of RuneScape. There's old school RuneScape, which is the extremely popular, thriving, growing MMO, and then there's RuneScape 3. Now, the reason I bring this up is that only like 30% of the problem with RuneScape 3 is RuneScape 3. The 70% of the problem is that literally bringing up the name RuneScape 3 like freezes people.
Oh, okay, so everybody hates RuneScape 3 and it sucks, right? Because like that's my understanding of RuneScape. I don't know a whole lot about it, but everybody hates it and it sucks. Okay.
If you've never played RuneScape, it's going to be hard for me to explain. Same way that you guys are probably going to try to type in, oh, but the Dawntrail writing it just can't compare to a Realm Reborn post game where they had to cut out 40 cutscenes to make the game flow properly. But there is one silver lining that I find really interesting about this whole thing, which is that I keep tabs on MMOs. My big break on YouTube was a WoW video, and then obviously I made the Final Fantasy video that got me into this community. So I've obviously been in the MMO sphere. But since I'm incognito, not just because I'm incognito, but I would never use an ad blocker, right? What I find so interesting is that the discourse from people that aren't necessarily in the Final Fantasy community, just kind of general MMO people, this hasn't escaped containment. And I think that's a big thing to keep in mind when we're talking about how bad the perception of the game is. It's okay that a game is bad between you and me, between the halls of the people who are really devoted to it. Things get bad when it starts escaping containment. You can't even mention RuneScape 3 without, you know, the two old school RuneScape players in the back going, don't play that one, don't play that one. That one's the microtransaction-ridden garbage fest. Like, there has to be a meeting point where negativity and positivity exist, where it's not, our game could do no wrong, Square Enix and Yoshi P are gods, and let's cut your subscriptions, let's bleed out Square Enix so they fold to our demands. Like, I just don't, there has to be a middle ground. Like the timeline of me playing Final Fantasy XIV, I made that video where I tried it out on my main channel. Then I came back to stream it 2 months later, and when I did, one of the first videos that came up, that literally came up because I was just playing the game, and I probably got data mined by, you know, Google and YouTube. This one, the tragic and totally preventable decline of Final Fantasy XIV.
Oh boy, I can't wait to start playing Final Fantasy XIV for the first time ever in March of 2025. I wonder what the community's up to.
Now, if you remember my little tweet, you know, the 3-year decline of Final Fantasy XIV, this is the one I was talking about because this was the first Final Fantasy video that came up for me personally, and this is a really, really bad look when you're joining a community. This is dire. You know, once these kind of third-party MMO channels, you know, the Josh Strife Hayes, the Waydots, right? All these guys still have very positive outlooks on the game Final Fantasy XIV. When they start kind of seeing the narrative shift, that's when I'd actually be very concerned for the game. At the end of the day, this could be a very tone-deaf video because, like I said, maybe the negativity around the game is not as bad as I've perceived it, because I clicked like on one negative thing, I reacted to it, and now my whole feed is filled by it. Like, whether or not you want to believe the musings of a video game reviewer and like a part-time Final Fantasy streamer, that's up to you. But I'm just saying it as a word of warning to be very careful about how we talk about games, for not just creating a better product and improving the product that you love, which is why people are negative in the first place, but also making it so that the people who aren't in the culture don't get fed the death of your own game, right? It's a cycle, and you don't want to be in that cycle, because once you're in that cycle, it's pretty hard to break out. Either way, if you want to help a fellow Sprout, I do stream on Sundays, so hang out with me. We can do some dungeons, we can talk. Always available on Discord.